So good morning everybody, myself Acharya Vishvendra. Let's discuss the quantum theory of light. So according to the quantum theory of light, light is made up of discrete packets of energy which are called quantas. Quantum theory was basically proposed by Max Planck, but Max Planck proposed the general theory. But as light as a specific part of the electromagnetic spectrum is concerned, that work was done by Sir Albert Einstein. So it's a combo of these two geniuses who were capable to propose this theory out of their ingenuity. So let's discuss all this. So we are clear that light is made up of packets of energy as per the postulates of the quantum theory of light. So let's talk about the scientific propositions or the proposals of this theory. So the first thing is energy of photon is related to the frequency by this relation, which is further related to the wavelength, which is further related to the mass, which is further related to the momentum. So all these are related by the one equation. Then there is a concept of number of photons, which is the ratio of total energy and energy of a single photon, which can be related to intensity, area, time, and energy of photon. Here, obviously, suppose this is a source and it is emitting photons. E is the energy of photon, nu is the frequency of photon, lambda the wavelength, and m is the moving mass of the photon. Rest mass of the photon is zero as per the quantum theory of light. Now let's see the graphs. So the first graph is E versus nu, straight line, E versus lambda, rectangular hyperbola, 1 by lambda again straight line, E versus n straight line, E versus B straight line. So that is a simple concept based on that. Then there is a concept of matter waves. So matter waves, the concept here is that any piece of matter is equivalent to a wave. You can analyze it that any piece of matter, when it goes in the space around it, it disturbs the surrounding and transfer momentum and energy to it, although sometimes it's not seen but it can be felt. Suppose a car is moving on a road. So obviously the car is transferring its momentum, some part of that at least, in energy to the air molecules with which it is interacting. So according to matter waves, every matter is concerned with a wave, which we call as the matter wave, or there comes the duality, the dual aspect of matter and radiations. So it was proposed by de Broglie in 1929. So that is concept over here. And according to de Broglie or de Broglie, if there is a mass and moving with a speed v, then the de Broglie wavelength or the wavelength of matter wave concerned with that particular matter is h by b, which can be written as h by mv, which can be written as h by root 2 km. Here k is kinetic energy, m is the mass, which is also equivalent to h by root 2 qv naught m, which is for electron reduces to 12.27 by root v naught angstroms. Here mass, m is the mass, v is speed, k kinetic energy, q magnitude of charge on particle, and v is the accelerating voltage. There is another relation that kinetic energy is equals to q into v naught, where q is the charge on the particle and v naught is the potential given to it. And if it has got some initial energy, then k is equal to k naught plus q v naught for case of initial energy. Now let's discuss the graphs. So lambda is proportional to 1 by p, graph is a rectangular hyperbola. For 1 by p it is a straight line. Then if we draw graph between lambda and m, it will be related inversely. At constant speed the graph will be again a rectangular hyperbola. Then for lambda versus v under constant mass, that will again be a rectangular hyperbola due to inverse relation with that. Then graph between lambda and 1 by v, it will be a straight line, as we can assume that 1 by v is equals to x. So it corresponds to a direct relation between these parameters. And then we have graph of lambda versus m, rectangular hyperbola again. Then graph of lambda versus 1 by root k, so that will be a straight line. Then for lambda versus q, that will again be a rectangular hyperbola for m u naught constant. Then lambda versus root q, again inverse relation, rectangular hyperbola. Then lambda versus v naught, again rectangular hyperbola, root v naught rectangular hyperbola. and 1 by root V naught again a straight line. So in this way we have seen that a lot of graphs are possible. So depending on the possibilities, we have drawn all the corresponding graphs over here. Let's revise the entire thing one more time. So according to the quantum theory of light, which was proposed by Sir Albert Einstein and Max Planck was concerned with general theory of photons, which is concerned with every EM waves, including your radio waves, micro, infrared, visible, UV, gamma ray, X-ray. But for light, the specific work was done by Sir Albert Einstein, and according to him, any source of light emits light in form of packets of energy, which we call as the photons. Every photon has certain characteristics. It has got a certain frequency, wavelength, moving mass, no charge, not deflected by electric magnetic fields. There are certain properties concerned with that. And out of them we have classified, we have used certain important qualitative and quantitative dimensions. So the first thing is energy is equals to h nu, which is equals to hc by lambda, which is related to the moving mass as mc square, which is related to the momentum by p into c. Then there is another thing related to the number of photons, which is the ratio of total energy by energy of photon, which can ultimately be related to the intensity of the radiations. Then in case of percentage, certain percentage of photons, we multiply that by x by 100, where x is the number of the percentage of light which gets converted in terms of photons. Suppose there is a source of energy, and it converts x% of its energy into the photons or into the light. So just multiply this term by x by 100, so that we work on effective number of photons, or the number of photons, or this conversion of energy into the form of light. Then there were certain graphs which we have seen. There are certain concept of de Broglie wavelengths, which is the concept that every piece of matter has a certain wave associated with it. Now you can draw an analogy between human brain and the mind. Brain is at the physiological or the particle level, and mind is at the psychological or the matter wave level. So for every person there is a brain, and as well as there is a mind. If some person is live, then the mind is associated with that, and death is the breaking of the connection between the brain and the mind. It seems like a brain and mind acts as a system to do something which we call as a life. And if we disconnect the links between brain and the mind, then that work is just vanished, and the mind will search for another body to do some work. So that is the explanation of life and death. So let's constrain ourselves to the matter waves concept first. So the concept of matter waves is equivalent to that of brain and the mind. So according to de Broglie, who proposed the concept of matter waves, any piece of matter in the universe is concerned with a wave aspect. That means it has a certain metaphysical entity attached to it, and it can transfer energy and momentum whenever it go, wherever it go. It is well proved by experiments. There was an experiment called as Davison and Germer experiment, which proved the wave nature of electrons. So when electrons are diffracted from a thin slit, so they form a certain interference pattern. It seems like electron is simultaneously present at many points. Whereas if electron is assumed as a particle, then it should be present only at one point. But diffraction experiment shows that it behaves as a wave. So these things are well established experimentally. So there was a peak in the curve which corresponds to a voltage of 54 volt and at an angle of 50 degree, and according to that, when calculated according to the experimental you can say that crystal diffraction scattering, the experimental wavelength was 0.166 nm, and the theoretical as predicted by using matter wave was 0.166 nm. So there is an excellent agreement between them. Thank you and have a nice day.